So what the Coinbases and others of the world have learned, and what the AT&Ts and Verizons have learned, is that, as you know, foreseeability equals liability. And so if any of these companies can foresee that a SIM swap is going to result in tens of thousands to millions of dollars in losses for a consumer, if they can foresee that is going to happen, they need to do something in addition to what they currently have in place in regards to preventing that from happening. Therefore, what else can we do, they said. And they said, well, what if we knew the SIM was swapped out? Legitimately or illegitimately, how would we know that? What do we need to do going forward?
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. We have security expert Robert Siciliano with us now. Robert, you've been warning people about scams, seems like most of your life, and now they're after you. They're trying to scam you, right?
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. They have been trying to scam me for quite a long time, actually. I've received emails from bad guys with my social security number in the body of the email. Hey, security guy, here's your social, ha, with them basically flexing their muscles, showing me how cool they were and that they got one up on me. And, like when I see that, my response is, whatever, because as far as I'm concerned, everybody's social security number at this point is in the hands of a criminal. Like I'm often asked by consumers, should I invest in services that, find my information on the dark web? What do you think about that? And like my information's on the dark web, your information's on the dark web, your name, your email address, likely your social security number, your home address, your phone number, your email address, everything. Like it's all on the dark web, because there's been like 170 plus billion records compromised, at least in the last decade. And all of that information, or at least most of it, is available on the dark web. So what is a dark web scam going to do other than tell you that your data is exposed? And what do you do in response? How do you react to that information? Basically, the idea is to make the data useless to the thief, right? And so what does that mean? What does it mean when they have your social? What does it mean when they have your credit card number? What does it mean when they have your email address? Or what does it mean when they have your passwords, right? And I tell people all the time, don't worry about it, but do something about it. So passwords, what do? You change up your passcodes when you find out that specific passwords were compromised, and you look through all your various logins to determine where that password might have been affected. So you change up your passcodes. In addition to that, the end-all cure-all for most password breaches is make sure you have two-factor authentication across all critical websites. Because even if they have your passcode saved for your PayPal account, they would need to have your mobile phone in their possession. As long as you have two-factor authentication enabled, they would have to have your mobile phone in their possession to be able to get into your PayPal account, even if they had your passcode. So like just yesterday, I got an alert that somebody's trying to update my Instagram account. They want to reset the password of my Instagram, which means that somebody probably has my email address, which is public knowledge, and they probably just did a password reset. And to most people, that's going to freak them out. For me, I've got two-factor authentication. I've got uppercase, lowercase numbers and characters for my passwords, and they would need my mobile phone in their possession to get into my Instagram account. As far as if they had my social security number, well, that's kind of a no-brainer too. I have identity theft protection services that monitor my information, look for new lines of credit being opened up under my name. In addition to that, I have a credit freeze across all three major credit bureaus. So Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. So if somebody has my social security number in their possession and they're trying to open up new lines of credit under my name, well, good luck, because any lender, any credit card company, anywhere they go to try to process an application for credit, they're going to be met with a credit freeze. They're not going to be able to see what my credit scores are. Therefore, that lender, that credit card company, that bank is going to bump that credit check back and say, we can't approve of this loan or this credit card because you have a credit freeze, Robert Siciliano /identity thief, and therefore we can't, issue this line of credit, this credit card to you. So a credit freeze in most cases makes the social security number, in most cases, useless to the thief. And if they have my credit card number, right? Yeah, they could probably make charges to my credit card. Sure. Like, that's not that difficult. Every single time you use your credit card number over the phone, in person, whatever, that number, that credit card is at risk. However, I have push notifications or pop-up notifications via all of my credit card numbers and my bank account number. Well, what that means is every single time there's a charge, every single time there's a transaction on my bank account, on any of my cards, card present, card not present, international, below or above $1, you name it, I either get an email instantly, a text message instantly, or a pop-up via one of my credit card or bank mobile apps. So I am made aware in real time every single time there's a transaction on a card or a bank card or a credit card, which doesn't necessarily make those digits useless to the thief, but it makes it really hard to use any of my credit card or bank account numbers in commerce, because I am made aware of it in real time and I can immediately refute those charges, which in most cases should, stop the bad guy in his tracks and prevent him or her from doing any further damage. And then I'll just get a new credit card in the mail shortly afterwards. And I've actually probably in the past 3 to 5 years have had to get 2 or 3 different new cards as a result of those push notifications, and push notifications that I set up for my bank card, my credit card are different than when the bank or credit card company notices charges that are anomalous. Meaning, for example, I might use my credit card at a gas station in Boston, and then 10 minutes later, that card is used in Russia. I obviously can't get to Russia in 10 minutes,
Yeah, tough.
That's an anomaly, right? So the credit card companies, the banks, they have anomaly detection technology that recognizes risk, which is different than you setting up push notifications. So credit cards, social security numbers, passcodes, it's the dark web. It's a matter of making the data useless to the thief.
So what about this thing of SIM swapping, which really could be used to defeat third-party factor ID? I've heard of people like getting their crypto accounts, their bank accounts, all sorts of things. It looks like the carriers are taking additional precautions to stop it, but it's a little scary.
Yeah, so I'm glad you touched on that, because I've actually been, and I still function as an expert witness, revolving around SIM swapping and someone's crypto account being drained, right? Mm-hmm. And I've seen that, unfortunately, too many times. And when somebody is targeted, usually the first thing that happens is their email is compromised in some way, whether they are phished and they don't have two-factor authentication, right? Whether they're phished or their credentials are exposed on the dark web, So your email address is relatively public, but then your password, singular, that's used across multiple accounts is highly problematic. Okay, so I'll get to the SIM aspect of this, but it begins with your email being compromised. And so once your email is compromised, once the bad guy is inside your email, A, because factor authentication, B, because you use the same passcode across multiple accounts, and that data is in fact exposed to the dark web, the bad guy doesn't necessarily hack into your email. They just log in because they have your credentials, because your credentials are exposed on the dark web, and you're not doing the basic cybersecurity 101 to make the data useless to the thief by setting up two-factor authentication, never using the same passcode twice, which also generally means using a password manager, which I do and I have for over 20 years, right? And a password manager facilitates the process of using a different passcode across each account, uppercase, lowercase, numbers and characters, long, strong passwords that generally aren't easily cracked, or words found in the dictionary, or consecutive keystrokes across the keyboard and so forth. And so once the email is compromised, bad guys inside the email, now they just search Coinbase, they search crypto, they search Binance and so forth, all the crypto exchanges, right? And once they're inside your email and they see, oh, he or she has a Coinbase account, he or she has a Binance account and so forth, that's when they begin the password reset, if possible, from your email. And if that doesn't get them in, they realize you have two-factor authentication. And that's when the SIM swap process begins. Now, once they're inside your email, they search out AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, T-Mobile, right? Mint, and so on. And they just go down the line in regards to all the mobile phone carrier companies to see where you have an account. And the next best thing for them is to reset the passcode for your telco, so that now they're in your telco. And even if that has two-factor authentication, they at least have, at this point, enough intelligence, because they're inside your email, that they know who you use for crypto. They know who you use as your cell carrier, and so forth. Now, from there, that's when, if they can't reset any passcodes because of two-factor authentication, best case scenario, that's when they head out to a physical store and then go to generally a third-party reseller. You know, some guy that has a shop in a mall somewhere that, sells mobile phones. And he has access to much of the same tools to swap out a SIM as one of the actual carriers, the T-Mobiles and AT&Ts and Verizons of the world. That third party reseller has that same similar access. And the problem here, and I've seen this, and I've actually commented on this in SIM swap cases in a court of law, that you'll find pockets of these third parties, resellers, where there's been a few different SIM swaps have occurred as a result of this particular reseller at that particular location. Why? Because he or she was approached by a scammer and said, hey, listen, I'll give you $1,000 if you could swap out this SIM. He's like, all right.
Oh, okay. You got it.
$1,000 is $1,000.
Yeah.
You just got one or two of them coming in a week. That's, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 grand a month. Sure. Why not? Right? That's easy money. And so that reseller generally is the one who's defeating whatever security measures that the telcos have in place. And it's not just the third party. So in my own research, when it comes to SIM swaps, in my own research as an expert witness, I've reached out to the Verizons and the AT&Ts and the Boost Mobiles and the Verizons and so forth as a consumer, and made a phone call and went in to the actual operations and said, listen, what do I do? I lost my password to my account, and I got this mobile phone, I got this iPhone, and I need to swap out my SIM because my phone doesn't work anymore. And I, everything's dead. And, what do I do? How do I go about it? He said, well, generally, like, we need to, two forms of identification. He said, well, I'm like, well, I've got a driver's license. That's all I've got. And, but, beyond that, like, I don't have anything else. It's like, well, as long as you come in with a driver's license, we'll have no problem. We should be able to do it right here on the spot. Here's the problem with that. You go on TikTok right now. You go on Instagram right now. You go to any college in America right now. You can easily find fake IDs.
Sure.
Easily. Like two for $80. Two for $80. And they're good. They are good quality IDs. And I've looked at these IDs, like I've handled and played with these IDs, but compared them up against mine, and the only difference in the fake IDs versus the real IDs is that there's generally a hologram in the real ID that isn't as good as the one that's in the fake ID. The fake IDs are a little duller. They're just a little duller.
Yep, that's right. I know exactly what you mean.
Duller. Yeah, but there is a hologram there. It's just a little duller. It's a little more faint. And that's really it. And so your everyday Verizon store employee, he's really not going to be really looking for that or know enough to look for that. Mm-hmm. He may or may not have the experience. He may or may not know the difference. But you walk in all, frazzled and so, I just need this. And you all, you've got clean, shiny teeth and good hygiene.
Hey,
and you
go there on a Friday. Go there on a Friday before closing, right?
Yeah. They're not going to be like, I don't know about you, like your sketch. I mean, you or I walk in, we're not going to be all sketch,
Right. Exactly. We look like taxpayers. Yep. Gotcha. So
there is good news here, though. Here's the deal, right? All is not lost. The good news is that there's a lot you can do. Change up all your passcodes. Use two-factor authentication for everything, including email. Never use the same passcode twice. You do all these different things, okay? The good news is that the cryptocurrency companies, right, the Bitcoins and so forth, they now have developed relationships with the telcos. And what that means is
they know
if you already have, say, a Coinbase account and your stuff is housed at Coinbase and you're on AT&T, you've got two-factor authentication, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do at Coinbase to make sure that your crypto isn't hacked, and you've tightened up your AT&T account and like you've got two-factor authentication there. But then you're like, you know what? AT&T is too expensive. I'm going to go to Mint Mobile, right? Because Mint Mobile is like a third of the price. Right. So you go through the process of setting up at Mint Mobile. Coinbase knows that you no longer are at AT&T. You're at Mint Mobile. They have backdoor access and know that you've swapped out your SIM to go from AT&T to Mint Mobile. They know that now. So that backdoor access, that relationship that Coinbase has with AT&T and others is a good thing. And that protects Coinbase and it protects their users.
Yeah.
So it's getting harder to swap out a SIM for the bad guy and it not be detected by the Coinbases of the world.
And I can tell you a personal story. I don't want to say what carrier I use and what major bank it was, but I had gotten a new phone, upgraded my iPhone, and, it's an eSIM. But when I logged on to that bank the first time, it said, it appears that you're using a new phone or a new SIM. We have to do additional verifications. And they nailed it because obviously it was me, but I saw that they were really taking precautions. So I guess there will be some universal verification of SIMs, eSIMs, as well as physical SIMs. So when someone has a new one and it pops up for the account, then they have to go through an additional phase of verifications. More than one. Yeah. I think it was 2 or 3. I had to do a couple credit cards, my ATM card, and it was extensive. So that is a good thing. So
it's a pain in the butt, but it's a good thing. And so what the Coinbases and others of the world have learned, and what the AT&Ts and Verizons have learned, is that, as you know, foreseeability equals liability. And so if any of these companies can foresee that a SIM swap is going to result in tens of thousands to millions of dollars in losses for a consumer, if they can foresee that is going to happen, they need to do something in addition to what they currently have in place in regards to preventing that from happening. Therefore, what else can we do, they said. And they said, well, what if we knew the SIM was swapped out? Legitimately or illegitimately, how would we know that? What do we need to do going forward? And they developed that relationship. They began to shake hands with each other. And now they know via an API or something to that effect. And so that does protect consumers in the end. That does not mean that consumers should still sit in their hands and do nothing. Mm-hmm. They still need to engage in all the various, two-factor authentication, change up your passcodes, never use the same passcode twice, enlist in a password manager, and so on and so forth at all your various critical accounts, including anything related to any finance, crypto, and everything and anything. And generally, you're going to become a tougher target for the bad guy, and they're going to go after the path of least resistance, which is the people who don't have those basics in place.
And as we were speaking, I changed my Google password because it had been too long. And it sent a notification to my phone. I was doing it online on my desktop, sent a notification to my phone. Your password's just been changed. Was that you? Yes or no? And of course I said yes. So you can never be too careful here, Robert. And a friend of mine that it happened to in Florida, Coinbase account got drained. They tried to drain her bank account, but they were not able to. But they took $28,000 worth of crypto from her account, and she had to sue them. I didn't hear what happened. I believe it was settled out of court, and that was that. Hey, well, appreciate you coming on, telling us about this new emerging threat, as well as the way that they're after you personally. Just tell us, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
Sure. I am at protectnowllc.com again. protectnowllc.com. I can also be found at safer.me. That's SAFR.me. Or just Google Robert Siciliano. You can't miss me.
All right. And the links are in the show notes to this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. While you're there, sign up for your free newsletter. You get a lot of valuable info from this. And Robert, we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.